Hi, I'm David Van Slyke, and I have the privilege of serving as the Dean of the Maxwell School. Welcome to the Awards of Excellence. Maxwell, as the first school of citizenship and public affairs in the United States, is dedicated to service in all its forms. The school's alumni embody a legacy of excellence and our shared commitment to making the world a better place. We view the Awards of Excellence as an opportunity to elevate the role of public service and the champions who carry out this work every day and who too often go unrecognized through their work. We also see the Awards of Excellence as an opportunity to honor and promote the work of our alumni and their contributions to society, and as an opportunity to shine a light on the many ways public service can be demonstrated. As Maxwell approaches the school's centennial, the Awards of Excellence offer an opportunity to take stock and reflect not only on our legacy, but on the future of public service. Now more than ever, initiatives to actively advance the ideals of citizenship, service, and democracy are vitally important. Trust in public institutions is critical to enacting and executing policies that address pressing societal problems. Effective and dedicated public service professionals, like those who go on to a range of career paths after graduating from the Maxwell School, are critically important to rebuilding that trust. We hope that Awards of Excellence and the examples set by our honorees will be a call to inspire others to practice engaged citizenship. As we were planning the Awards of Excellence program, it was important that these awards and the honorees reflect the work of our global community. The awards and their honorees represent a diverse range of careers, backgrounds, and programs of study. It is Maxwell's honor to elevate and promote these individuals' work and their contributions to society in our Awards of Excellence. Thank you for joining us and celebrating them. Good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us. We're delighted to gather with you for our 2023 Awards of Excellence as we celebrate our shared commitment to public service and recognize this year's honorees. As we gather this evening for our Awards of Excellence, we celebrate a commitment shared by all Maxwell alumni to advancing the public good. In that spirit, we lost two members in our alumni community this past year, Molly Broad and Walter Broadnex. Molly and Walter exemplified Maxwell's mission through their leadership and advocacy at the intersection of higher education and public service. Molly launched her trailblazing career in higher education administration at Syracuse University, and even after taking subsequent professional roles, continued to give back to her alma mater as a trusted advisor and generous supporter. Her positions included president and chancellor of the 16-campus University of North Carolina system, where she was the first woman and non-North Carolinian in that role. She was also the first woman to lead the American Council on Education since its founding in 1918. Walter, meanwhile, shaped a career in the public and nonprofit sectors that led him to be considered one of America's most respected scholar practitioners in the field of public policy and management. An esteemed Syracuse University alumnus, professor, trustee, and benefactor, Walter once said the following quote, which defined the way that he approached life, education, work, and volunteer service, and underscores the reasons we're gathered here tonight. He said, "Public service isn't about something you do today and then you're done. It's about improving our society, improving the world for the people that live in it." When we established our annual awards program, our goal was to highlight you, our alumni, and your work that reflects engaged citizenship in all of its forms. We are so thrilled to again convene the Awards of Excellence in Washington, D.C., a region that's important to Maxwell in many ways. The capital is home to a strong network of thousands of alumni, some of whom have joined us here tonight. It's also home to our thriving Maxwell and Washington academic program, housed here at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, We're proud of our partnership with CSIS as we approach our 10-year anniversary together. Washington is also home to our new Syracuse University Institute for Democracy, Journalism, and Citizenship, a joint effort from the Maxwell and Newhouse schools that aims to strengthen trust in democracy and journalism, to promote civil discourse and engage citizenship. It's being led by Professor Margaret Talev, who is with us this evening. It is my honor and privilege to introduce an alumnus working to advance these same principles through his work as a journalist. Our MC for this evening, Boris Sanchez. Boris is a CNN anchor based here in Washington, D.C. Prior to launching CNN News Central as a co-anchor just this month, Mr. Sanchez co-anchored New Day Weekend. Previously, he covered President Trump and his administration as a CNN White House correspondent. After joining CNN in 2015, he served as a national correspondent based first in New York and then relocating to his hometown of Miami a year later. As a national correspondent, Boris covered numerous breaking news events. He was one of the first reporters on the scene at both the Fort Lauderdale airport shooting in 2017 and the Orlando Pulse nightclub massacre in 2016. Mr. Sanchez graduated from Syracuse University in 2009 with a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism from the SI Newhouse School of Public Communications and a degree in international relations from the Maxwell School. We are so delighted that Boris joins us this evening. Please join me in welcoming him to our stage as our Master of Ceremonies. Boris.
Thank you to Dean Van Slyke for that very warm introduction, and welcome to our honorees and guests this evening. It's my pleasure to serve as your MC tonight at this year's Maxwell Awards of Excellence. As an alumnus of Maxwell and Syracuse University, it's also a special honor to share this evening with our fellow graduates, students, and friends, both online and here at CSIS. Like you, I'm very proud to be a graduate of Syracuse and Maxwell specifically. For me, getting accepted and graduating was a milestone and a personal honor. Not to get too personal, but it is significant because I inherited my interest in international relations and journalism. I'm an immigrant. I was born in Cuba, and I came to this country when I was a child because my grandfather was a political prisoner. He was sentenced to 2 decades behind bars, essentially for his love of democracy. Separately, my mother, as a young student, had a passion for journalism and for writing. Being an authoritarian dictatorship, she was sent off to work at a tin can factory. Given that their dreams were deferred, I was fortunate to pursue an education and a career specializing in what they were not allowed to do, and that is to speak truth to power. Of course, I wanted to be armed with something to actually say with the freedom of expression, so I delved into the social sciences, where Maxwell helped me understand complex global issues, and that has fueled my effort to bring audiences around the world with accurate, timely information about the inner workings of government and current events. That's also why I'm so excited for the new Center for Democracy, Journalism, and Citizenship. Shout out to my good friend Margaret Talev, wherever she might be sitting. I'm also excited to join you here in Washington, D.C. The greater Washington area is actually home to some 4,100 Maxwell alumni living and working in this region. And this concentration of alumni is actually the largest network of Maxwell alumni outside the state of New York. So that's something to be proud of. Here in D.C., alumni work in myriad roles across sectors, advancing important issues facing our communities at all scales. Across the roles in which they serve, a common thread links Maxwell alumni, just like it did as students, a continued commitment to the public good. So, as we introduce our first award recipient, the Maxwell Compass Award was created to recognize an early career alumnus for professional and community accomplishments and impact. This year, we're honoring Deniece Laurent-Mantey, a fellow 2009 graduate of Maxwell's undergraduate program in international relations. Ms. Laurent-Mantey is a foreign affairs and national security leader with over 10 years' experience at the U.S. State Department and the White House National Security Council, with particular expertise directing and implementing U.S. foreign policy and development efforts in Africa. As Director for Africa at the White House National Security Council, Ms. Laurent-Mantey's portfolio included Southern Africa, as well as trade and investment and the implementation of the inaugural U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit, the latter of which entailed the coordination of nearly 20 government agencies to execute President Joe Biden's summit in December 2022, involving nearly 50 African nations to advance trade and investment commitments, and U.S.-Africa shared priorities. Deniece, please join us on stage to accept your award.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much to our dean and to Boris. I just realized that we were of the same year, and so that's really exciting. Thank you all so much for having me. Good evening to all of our distinguished family and friends here today. I want to thank the Maxwell alumnus community and the entire staff for this enormous recognition this evening. I'm truly grateful to God and the awards committee for this award and opportunity to be here today. I'd like to first thank my professors, the administration, and the staff over at the Maxwell School, mentors in and outside of Syracuse University, who have really helped shape my career in international affairs and public service. I also want to thank some of the greatest teachers and mentors that I think I'll ever come across, and that's my parents, my siblings, my husband, and my 3 boys. And I want to put an emphasis on 3 boys because having a career like mine with 3 toddlers does not come really easy, and so they're here tonight, and I want to give them a special recognition for behaving and not screaming while I am up here this evening, and so thank you. Thank you so much. We dedicate our lives to public service, and having families is often a challenge, but they've been very patient with me in my career. But that's one of the core skills I've learned at Maxwell, never shying away from challenges and opportunities, even in the midst of balancing multiple priorities. I remember my first day on the campus of Syracuse University at the Maxwell School. It was truly a mixture of excitement and a sense of exploration. It was a new environment for me, and I became totally exposed to a much larger and dynamic community. I had spent 4 years prior to that living in Ghana, West Africa, spent most of my life in the Bronx, New York, where I was born and raised, and I was the first generation of my family to go to college. And to be honest, during that time as a teenager, with immigrant parents from Ghana, I didn't know what life really looked like outside of the kids on the block in the Bronx or our small family community back in Ghana. But overall, I didn't really know what a career or college prospects looked like for a young Black girl who grew up in a family that was full of love, but sometimes short of opportunities. I certainly didn't see myself as a future leader in the space of international relations, but I was exposed to new ideas and to different people at the Maxwell School, and that ignited my passion for international relations. These unique set of experiences for me, coupled with the dynamic community and the values of the Maxwell School, helped me to discover in practical terms the link between culture, public service, and leadership. It's been a foundational principle for my understanding and engagement with the world beyond our borders. From when I interned at the Department of State as a sophomore in the Maxwell School, to serving as special assistant and traveling the world with Secretaries of State John Kerry and Hillary Clinton, to responding to crises as the deputy director for our West Africa office, or to executing President Biden's vision of inviting almost 50 African heads of state to Washington to host the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit. Maxwell has taught me that through dialogue, partnership, and service, we can tackle some of the most pressing diplomatic challenges we face today. As I accept this award, I do so with a sense of commitment to continue to strive for impact among our communities across Africa and the United States, strengthening partnerships for a more just, peace, and equitable world, and drawing on the values and lessons I've learned to effectively make a difference as a leader. Many of those valuable lessons I've learned are from mentors whom are also Maxwell alumni as well, and role models in our world of diplomacy at the Department of State. And I want to leave you with just a few. Always embrace your accomplishments and expertise. Don't let anyone make you believe that your confidence is aggression. Overcome feelings of self-doubt and insecurity and own your space. Don't let your curiosity get in the way of your convictions. And finally, everyone makes mistakes. What you did is not who you are, and there's always more to what you will do. Once again, thank you for this incredible honor, and I look forward to continuing to contribute to our shared goals as alumnus of this esteemed institution. Thank you.
And congratulations once more to Deniece. Her commitment to advancing U.S.-Africa relations is inspiring, especially given some of what we're watching unfold in places like Sudan currently. While Maxwell has a large footprint here in Washington, the school has a significant international presence as well. Nearly 3,300 alumni reside in over 150 countries around the world. These alumni serve in a range of professions. Among them are foreign service workers, humanitarians, government officials, entrepreneurs, educators, and many more, some of whom live and work amid very challenging global hotspots. We're proud that our Awards of Excellence honorees reflect Maxwell's international reach. So, for our next award presentation, it's actually named for the year that the school was founded. The 1924 award was established to honor an alumnus for distinguished, sustained professional or civic leadership and achievement. This year's honoree is Sean Callahan. He's a mission director for Afghanistan at the U.S. Agency for International Development. A graduate of Syracuse's joint JD MPA program, Mr. Callahan is a 22-year veteran of U.S. aid who currently oversees the organization's multi-sector response to the crisis in Afghanistan. He's actually working from Qatar to manage a staff of over 100 that is spread out over 21 countries in 10 time zones following the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. Mr. Callahan's award nominator spoke of his ability to inspire his colleagues and bring in them a commitment to transmit a better Afghanistan than they found it. This echoes the spirit of the Athenian oath, the ethos that is inscribed on the wall at Maxwell Hall that serves as a compass for our community. When describing his current role to us, Mr. Callahan said, quote, "We need to think about not just this generation, but the next generation and provide that hope and dignity for the Afghan people." Sean, please join us on stage to accept your award.
Excuse me, I need to wear glasses these days. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming here tonight. It is wonderful to be here in front of so many Maxwell colleagues, and I'm so honored and humbled to accept such a prestigious award from this incredibly special institution that is once again ranked #1 for public affairs by U.S. News and Report. So, good job, Dean. First, I want to thank Maxwell for playing such an instrumental part in my personal life, especially in helping me meet my wife, Kristen Dady, who is a triple Syracuse University alum, both undergrad and joint MPA, like myself. Given her work with the International Organization for Migration in Geneva, she cannot be here today. But it was at Maxwell, there in the common study area, where we studied together, completed projects with such amazing teachers like Professor Duncombe, and simply discussed public policy, social justice, our futures, and nerded out together as only typical Maxwell students do so well. It was just near the statue of Abe Lincoln where I asked Kristen out on our first date. Being a graduate student with no money, our date was a plate of shared eggplant fries and 2 watery coffees at Cosmo's Diner on Marshall Street. You know it so well. But that was the start of something so special, and I would not be here today if it not was for my amazing wife, Kristen, and my 4 beautiful daughters. So thank you, Kristen. Thank you, my girls, for your support, your advice, and your unwavering love over these many years. And I also want to thank the faculty and staff at Maxwell, including Dean Van Slyke, Norman Shannon, and others, such as Ann Phelps, Astrid Mergett, and my colleague, Ed Mikulski. Each of them has showed me such personal attention, care, and genuine interest when I was a grad student, and then as a proud member of the Maxwell Mafia. I must express my gratitude for Maxwell for providing me with the analytical, the managerial, and so many other practical skills, as well as strengthening my ability to think constructively. These skills have helped me time and time again throughout my career at USAID, especially now in my current position as the USAID Mission Director to Afghanistan, which has been the most complex and the most challenging posting of my entire career. Afghanistan remains the largest humanitarian crisis and development challenge globally. 2/3 of its population will need humanitarian assistance this year just to survive. More than half of the population are experiencing crisis levels of food insecurity. And at the same time, the Taliban are erasing women and girls from Afghan society. The reality is that the Taliban's ban on education for women and girls above 6th grade and their ban on women working for NGOs and the UN have serious consequences for the Afghan population and the development of Afghanistan. The Afghan people continue to suffer deeply in so many ways. But I am heartened that USAID and others, including some of you here today, have been and are continuing to do everything they can to help the Afghan people. So to receive the 1924 award for distinguished and sustained professional and civic leadership in the spirit of the Maxwell School's mission humbles me, not just because I cannot help but think of the suffering of the Afghan people and the sacrifices so many Americans have made in Afghanistan, but it also renews my strength and sense of purpose, knowing that everyone associated with the ethos and the purpose of Maxwell, its students, its professors, its administrators, and its alumni, wherever you are committed to service and with others, in service for and with others, with no expectation of recognition. Whether one is an academic, a community organizer, a teacher, a diplomat, a member of the military, a humanitarian worker, or even a public servant like myself, we do what we do with a sense of mission and to be something bigger than ourselves. So, even though Cosmo's Diner is now gone and just a fond memory, I now have this award that will make me reminisce, smile, and energize me for years to come. Thank you very much.
Congratulations again to Sean. His work in Afghanistan is inspiring and something that we can all aspire to replicate in our own fields. So graduates of the Maxwell School advance and sustain the ideals of public service, not only through their professional pursuits, but also through their volunteer endeavors. These voluntary commitments, they take many forms. At the Maxwell School, through programs like the Maxwell Alumni Ambassador Program and the Maxwell Alumni of Color Community, in their communities, through organizations and causes associated with nonprofit organizations, schools, and houses of worship, and at their workplaces, working to create solutions and build belonging. Now, our next award is the Advocate Award, which is named after its inaugural recipient, the late Dr. Charles V. Willie. Dr. Willie sadly passed away in 2022 after a storied career as a scholar, policy advisor, teacher, mentor, and tireless community activist. Established in his honor, the Charles V. Willie Advocate Award honors individuals who reflect Maxwell's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in their professional and volunteer pursuits. Tonight, we honor Juan Carlos Izaguirre, who earned his master's degree in public administration and international relations and has advanced diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility through his career at Consultative Group to Assist the Poor and the World Bank. Mr. Izaguirre is a longtime volunteer leader of GLOBE, the bank's LGBTQ+ employee resource group, which works to increase awareness, strengthen sense of community, and improve workplace environment and policies. Through his work, Mr. Izaguirre has implemented important measures to advance financial inclusion and consumer protection. Describing his work to Maxwell, he told us, quote, "Financial services are just a means to an end, and that end is better economic development, better economic opportunities, better resilience, especially for low-income customers." Juan Carlos, please join us on stage to accept your award.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you so much, Dean Van Slyke and Boris, for this introduction and for this award. Thanks to Maxwell School and Syracuse University for this excellent opportunity for us to be together today. And thanks to all of you for being here to share this occasion with us. I am extremely grateful to have been selected for the Charles V. Willie Advocate Award for 2023. I'm especially honored to be recognized at the same time as such distinguished members of the Maxwell family, whom I also admire, Deniece, Sean, Bernie. Thanks for such outstanding and courageous work. You are an inspiration. I'm deeply honored and almost in disbelief to have received this award in recognition of contributions to advancing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. This means quite a lot to me, much more than you can imagine, because it's not only about work on financial inclusion and consumer protection, but also about advocacy on LGBT plus issues. And you know, I'm a Latino guy, born and raised in Peru, who lived a childhood of hyperinflation, with car bombs exploding near my house due to domestic terrorism, with constant water and electricity cuts, but at the same time with lots of dreams. My professional dream job in my youth was to work in international development. And I'm quite thankful to my former colleagues in the Banking Supervisory Agency of Peru, in the World Bank, to my teachers and classmates in Peru and in Syracuse from all over the world, as well as my current colleagues in SIGAP for all your support in making that youth dream possible. Now I can work with global, regional, and national authorities to develop responsible financial inclusion and consumer protection policies and practices in over 50 countries now that aim to benefit people in states of vulnerability and poverty. Now, on a more personal level, my greatest dream was to live in a place where I could be my full and proud self as a gay man. And you know, there are not so many places or options out there. More than 60 countries right now have laws that criminalize sexual orientation or gender identity. And less than 60 countries have any type of protection against violence against the LGBT plus community. In my country, Peru, there's still no legal recognition of same-sex families. And too many hate crimes against trans persons are perpetrated every year. So I'm quite thankful to life for being safely and fully out and proud for 10 years now. So I want to thank my amazing husband, Brian, who supported my tough professional and advocacy work schedules every day for so many years with patience and with lots of love. And also thanks to my closest friends, including some from Maxwell, to whom I came out first, for their support and their love. Also my brother, who is watching online, I think. Gracias, hermano. As well as my dear relatives, and especially my beloved parents who passed away before I could come out to them, but whom I'm sure they are super proud today. Also, I want to thank the Maxwell School for these great recognitions and for providing alums like me from a range of diverse backgrounds and stories the opportunity to receive a great education in a global and inclusive environment, instilling unique values of public service and enjoying unforgettable life experiences, including sports nights at the Career Dome, coffee nights at the Academic Village, nights of rehearsal for the Maxwell the Musical, or nights of debate in the simulation. This Charlie v. Willie Advocate at Work reinvigorates my commitment to diversity and inclusion. And I hope it also encourages every one of you to take a step forward toward making the world a better, kinder, more diverse, equitable, and inclusive place. Thank you very much, and go Orange.
Go Orange indeed. Congratulations, Juan Carlos. Your commitment to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion from multiple lenses is admired and shared by your friends here at the Maxwell School. So Maxwell alumni are united in their pursuit of public service in all its forms. The members of the Maxwell community continually renew a commitment to the spirit of public service, working from where they are in a multitude of ways to make our world a better place. It is fitting then that the awards of excellence include an award named for this shared ideal. In our last award presentation this evening, the Maxwell Spirit of Public Service Award honors individuals whose contributions have brought widespread impact and reflect the ideals of Maxwell. This year's honoree is Bernard D. Rostker. He, during a 55-year career, held senior positions in government service and research and pursued solutions to some of the most contentious issues in the U.S. military. During his career, Dr. Rostker oversaw the reestablishment of selective service registration. He co-authored 2 key reports supporting gay individuals serving openly in the military, and he accepted the challenge of the mysterious Gulf War illness through roles including Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Manpower and Reserve Affairs, Undersecretary of the Army, and Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness. 3 of Dr. Rostker's research reports are among the 21 reports of the RAND Classics webpage speaking to the longevity of his work. Today, he serves as a senior fellow at RAND, an organization which he has called his real home for its focus on interdisciplinary research, an approach that he learned to value while at Maxwell, earning his economics master's and as a PhD student. Bernard, please join us on stage to accept your award.
Thank you very much. I must note when I received word that I'd been selected as the 2023 recipient of the Maxwell Spirit of Public Service Award, to say the least, I was surprised. But as I thought about it, yes, my career does reflect the Maxwell School's commitment to public service. Someone recently asked me if I had a grand plan for my career, and I immediately said I did not. As I thought about it more, however, there seemed to have been a guiding hand that pushed me forward along a path of public service in support of our men and women in the armed services. While along the way, there were a number of times when I started down other paths that would have taken me on a different road, something always happened to push me back as if it was an invisible hand saying, no, stop it, get back on track. As it turned out, Maxwell was an important part of this invisible hand. Looking back, my decision to join the ROTC program was my first decision of service that shaped the path I would follow. During college, I fell in love with economics and decided to ask for a delay of call to active duty to pursue my studies. I selected SU and Maxwell without knowing anything about them, except that I might get a PhD without having to demonstrate competence in a foreign language. I did not anticipate how good the fit would be or how important what I learned at Maxwell and the contacts established there would be in shaping my career. Accordingly, the first finger in the Maxwell invisible hand was my interest in what we call today human resources, but then called labor economics, as reflected in my master's thesis, a cost-benefit analysis of manpower training. Interestingly, manpower was not my first choice, but the invisible hand had a different idea. As it turned out, the seminar topic I really wanted was already taken, and manpower training was all that was left. And so I started down what turned out to be my life's path as a result of being ill when the topics were assigned. The second finger of the invisible hand was interdisciplinary research learned at the Metropolitan Study Center. The economics department allowed me to take one field outside of the department, and I started with Scotty Campbell's interdisciplinary overview course. Scotty's graduate student at the time was Donna Shalala, who became a lifelong friend. Originally, I planned to write my dissertation on something in urban affairs, but then I came across an announcement for a fellowship sponsored by the Manpower Administration of the Department of Labor that allowed me to extend my work on manpower training. The hand pushed me from urban back to manpower. With the help of a Maxwell professor, Jesse Burkhead, the invisible hand pushed me to the Pentagon for my military service and into the Manpower Requirements Directorate of the Office of Systems Analysis. At the Pentagon, one day, a Maxwell colleague walked into my office. His name was John White, and he said after leaving Maxwell, he had gone to the Rand Corporation, a studies house working for the Defense Department. Very interesting, but when my military service was over, I accepted a position at a new studies institute at the University of Kentucky. As it turned out, the invisible hand had other ideas. When that program failed to get final approval from the faculty senate, I took up Rand's offer of employment, resulting in 3 tours and over 30 years of employment at Rand. In addition, for the next 35 years, inside and outside of government, my Maxwell and now Rand colleague, John White, was instrumental in shaping my career. At Rand, I followed him as head of the Interdisciplinary Air Force Manpower Personnel and Training Program. Later, when he was Deputy Director of the Office of Management and Budget, he convinced President Carter to nominate me to be the Director of Selective Service, when I managed the first mass registration since World War II. Then, when he was Deputy Secretary of Defense, he gave me the seemingly intractable problem of unexplained illnesses among service members deployed during the Gulf War. I must have done something right, because that led to confirmations as Undersecretary of the Army and Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness. In retrospect, SU's arrangement with the economics department being part of the Maxwell School is a match for the matrix structure I found at Rand, with economic departments on one side of the matrix and programs and problems on the other side. Most of my career at Rand was as a program director responsible to the Air Force, later to the Army, and then to the Office of the Secretary of Defense for research designed to solve problems, and this is best done by interdisciplinary teams that bring insight from different disciplines to form a more perfect view of the problems and to craft workable solutions. So looking back, I may not have had a plan for my career, but there was order in how it developed, with SU and Maxwell being major forces that shaped my professional life. Thank you, Syracuse, and thank you, Maxwell.
Our congratulations to Deniece, Laurent-Mantey, Sean Callahan, Juan Izaguirre, and Bernie Rostker, our 2023 honorees of the Maxwell Awards of Excellence. We are obviously honored to have been able to celebrate your achievements this evening. Your professional and personal endeavors inspire us to ever strive to make a more positive difference in the lives of others in accordance with the Athenian oath, again inscribed at Maxwell, which says, quote, "We will transmit this city not only not less, but greater, better, and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us." Thank you so much to our guests here in Washington, D.C., and those of you who may have been watching online for joining in our celebration of engaged citizenship through this year's awards. It is now my pleasure to welcome Dean Van Slyke back to close our program.
Thank you so much, Boris. We're grateful for the ways in which you reflect Maxwell's ideals through your important work. Thanks also go to our Washington partner, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the Maxwell team in DC, and the large Maxwell team that came down from main campus. I'd also like to thank our Maxwell Advisory Board, who are participating in tonight's events. Maxwell's 10-year relationship with CSIS provides us not just an incredible instructional site for our undergraduate, graduate, and executive level students, but also a world-class collaborator on a unique executive master's degree in international relations. I encourage you to learn more about our EMIR program for mid and senior level professionals at the registration table outside. I finally want to thank you to our alumni and friends who have joined us in Washington, those of us who have joined us online through our live stream. We are so delighted to share the 2023 Awards of Excellence with you. Now, as you'd expect, as a dean, you'd expect me to share something with you on the way out. So the question I often hear is, how can I be involved? Good question, I'm glad you asked. There are 4 things you can do. You can serve as an ambassador for the school and recommend prospective students to our outstanding undergraduate and graduate programs. You can help our students gain internship and employment opportunities at your organizations and through your networks. You can stay in touch with us and brag about yourselves and your careers. Maxwell's reputation is elevated by the incredible work and success of our graduates, and we'll celebrate your news widely in our communications. And finally, you can make Maxwell a philanthropic priority in your life by making a gift to the school to support our students, faculty, and programs. As dean, I can promise you that every gift of any amount is important to Maxwell's success, and we will use your support well. As you exit the venue for this reception, there's a quick, easy, and secure way to donate if you'd like to support the Maxwell mission. For our guests at CSIS, please join me now, members of the Maxwell Advisory Board, our faculty and staff, and your fellow alumni for a reception outside. Thank you so much for coming, and stay well, and go Orange.